This is still Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Well, I've also know all our social media platforms at 3FM 927. Well, a special opinion poll on the direction of the country, president approval, living standards and political party affiliations in Ghana as of 17th February 2025 is out. And I'll tell you what this poll says. It was done by Global Info Analytics, headed by Musa Dankwa, who will be speaking with pretty shortly. So carried out in all 16 regions, it shows a dramatic shift in the perception of voters on the direction of the country, as majority of Ghanaians now believe the country is headed in the right direction. And that is nearly a month after new government took over the reins of power. The poll found 74% of Ghanaians say the country is now headed in the right direction, compared to 16% who say the wrong direction and 10% who did not have an opinion. If you remember, in November 2024, only 29% of voters said the country was headed in the right direction, with 63% saying that it was headed in the wrong direction. We'll break it down for you for the regional updates. So the region with the highest proportion of voters who believe Ghana is headed in the right direction is the Savannah region. They are leading with 92%, while the Ashanti and Eastern are the lowest, with 59% apiece. Coincidentally, John Dramani Mahama, he lost the Ashanti and the Eastern regions to his main challenger, Dr. Bawumia, in the 2024 presidential elections. Well, the poll also shows that 76% of voters approve the job President John Dramani Mahama is doing or has been doing since he assumed office. However, 14% disapprove of his performance and 10% did not have an opinion. Let's dig into this research by Musa Dankwa of Global Info Analytics. Mr. Dankwa, thank you so much for joining us on the program. The findings in your research, talk to us about what influenced the decisions or the swaying of the people you interacted with.
Right, thank you very much for having me. I think we know that nothing has happened that much that could radically shift the opinion of Ghanaians with regards to the rest of the country. Mm-hmm. However, we can admit that we have a new president. We've seen him make new appointments. We've seen him taking some decisions. And in the last days, we've seen the Ministry of Finance making some movements in terms of settling some debt and paying some allowances of people who are doing national service. So what I would say is that the perception of voters is largely driven by the initial steps that have been taken so far by the president and how they feel about his leadership, and that we could get to where we want to go if this is the approach he's taking. And I think that is what is driving people's perception about where the country is headed.
Musa, I'd like for you to hold on and let's engage with Stephen Osei Chia, who is a senior lecturer, political and strategic communication expert and the president of UTAG at the University of Education in Winneba. Thank you so much for joining us, Stephen Osei. Yes, early days yet in President Mahama's administration. This is good news, obviously, for the president and his government. But what lessons or what cues should they take from this, if any?
Okay, thank you so much, Johnny, for the opportunity again. I want to use this opportunity to also to extend a good morning to your listeners, our listeners, and then the good people of Ghana. And also a good morning to my Vice Chancellor, my UTAG members and staff of UTAG. And as President of UTAG, I want to say a good morning to my National President and NEC members. And also a good morning to Mr. Musa Dankwa for the good work done. Yes, the report, as we have now, is very good and it favors the government and the president. Yes, I'm happy Mr. Musa mentioned that it's early days yet and that nothing or a lot of things have actually not happened, and for that matter, we are likely to see this. But if I follow the president very, very well, a few days ago, he mentioned that if his government, they are able to actually seal leakages or wastages, then there are wastage in the system when it comes to payments and all that. If those wastages are blocked, then it implies that we are going to have some financial stability. So I am not surprised that these very numbers, the percentages are in favor of the government and also saying that it's going in the right direction. We are looking at a president who is very popular in his party and very popular in Ghana. And we are looking at a president who, once upon a time, in 6 months, he needed only 6 months to become the president of the country after the demise of our former president. So he has the popularity. And we are talking about a president who's also been to opposition for 8 years and is coming back. Yeah, so I know that he's going to learn very well from this. He has actually learned, because if you look at the appointment he's doing now, it shows that he's really ready to do a lot of work. Now, I had a question for Mr. Musa, knowing very well that per the findings, per the period of the research, it says 27th of January to 16th of February, which means that it's just 20 days after the president had been in office.
Right.
And the president actually has a social contract with Ghanaians, and it is 120 of them. So, I'm very sure Mr. Musa and his team are actually working on coming up with a different finance after the 120 days that the president promised based on what he's going to do. But as we speak now, the number 9th one in his 120 days, that is the social contract, he talks about coming up with an educational forum to help restructure the educational policies and all that. And as we speak, that program is happening today. So, yes, he has learned and he's trying to put certain things in place, and it's early days yet, so let's see what happens.
Mr. Dankwa, back to you. In the research, you mentioned the people who are expecting an improvement in their standards of living. Granted that there may not be proper indications yet, what may be influencing this posture as well?
Just like investor confidence. I mean, when there's a new government, if new government takes office, and there is a set of new direction, you see of investors changing, even though nothing much has changed.
Right.
So it's the sentiment of the people with regards to where they believe the country is headed, and what they believe is being done. That has given the hope that if this continues, their living standards would improve. But when the outlook for the economy and perception is not very good, then that translates to negative perception about their future standard of living. So this is linked to one, leadership. It is linked to what they perceive to be new direction that the country has taken, and that direction could lead to improvement in people's standard of living.
Your poll also shows that 76% of voters approve the job President John Dramani Mahama has been doing since he assumed office. There may be people who may ask, again, early days yet, what exactly has the president done that people are approving? His 120-day social contract, we're not up to 120 days yet. So, again, where is this coming from?
No, it's perception. I mean, people have seen few things. They've seen appointments. About 84% like his appointment. If they don't like his appointment, they begin to react negatively. We have seen some steps taken to address the school feeding problem. We've seen schools getting right and they are eating right now. We haven't had a lot of complaints. All this is are feeding into people's sentiment. And indeed, you can even measure someone's approval rating on the very first day it is over office. So these are people's perceptions. We did not ask them to give us specific reasons why they are approving or disapproving him. But over time, when we ask other questions, we'll be able to triangulate and show why they are saying what they're telling us.
Going forward, and this is to you, Stephen Osei, going forward for the NDC government, huge approval ratings for them in the early days of the administration. How should they conduct themselves going forward that they do not lose this, likeness people have for them right now?
Okay, yes, so I think the president's agenda is the resetting agenda. Now, what they need to do is that in every communication they give out to Ghanaians, they should be very strategic in it and make sure that they stick by what they say. And I'm saying this because, you see, if one in the same government, somebody sends a communique, and I'm coming to this direction, talking about the revocation of the appointment, which came from the office of the chief of staff. Right. Now, in that communique, if you study it carefully, it talked about revoking all appointments based on the fact that it did not follow good governance practices. Now, some days after that communique, the Honorable Felix Ofosu-Kwakye also comes in to explain, to give more further information on it, stating that that exercise is necessary because some of the appointments were not duly done. Because people actually did not get their full appointment letters or even application letters, let alone to enable them get appointments. Also, appointments had to be backdated to enable them find themselves into the system. That is fine. But you see, one communique says all appointments. The other one says some of the appointments. So they need to be very straightforward with their communication. The mere fact that someone can speak English, rhetoric, or something, or write good English does not make the person a very good communicator. And I'm saying this because, Johnny, you are aware. We are in media. You are in media. In every communique, in every communication from government, from the presidency, it should be strategically done. It should be strategically done because at the end of the day, there shouldn't be any gaps for ambiguity. If there are gaps for ambiguity, now as we speak, those who were employed, Johnny, you know that this issue happened in 2017. The president currently made certain appointments, and then there had to be some revocations and all that, and the president himself complained as of the time. Now, resetting agenda, so I'm not sure he's not going to be a president, but the communique should have been very clear, stating that due to the incomplete applications and perceived misappropriations or perceived not actually going according to the good governance practices, there is a need for a forensic audit to be done. Now, in this case, you are making it very clear. So those who actually got their appointments legitimately and duly have nothing to worry about. But now, all of them have been put into one container where people are confused, people are traumatized and all that. So for me, the presidency, in their communication, they need to make sure that they are being very explicit and they should communicate strategically so that at the end of the day, they will continue to win the goodwill of Ghanaians. As you said, they have the goodwill of Ghanaians. The president has it. So to maintain it and to continue on, they need to always communicate accordingly so that one party wouldn't come and say otherwise and another person comes in to say something else. This is what the president has to do, at least through the communication team from the presidency. And they will continue to enjoy, if they're able to do that, they will continue to enjoy the goodwill and the support of Ghanaians.
Now to the regional breakdowns, Musa Dankwa. The region with the highest proportion of voters who believe Ghana is headed in the right direction is the Savannah region, and they are leading with a whopping 92%. The Ashanti and Eastern region, they are the lowest in your research with 59% apiece. Now, you go ahead to indicate that John Dramani Mahama, he lost in the Ashanti and the Eastern regions to his main challenger, Dr. Bawumia, in the 2024 presidential elections. Is it mere coincidence, or there could be other factors influencing this disposition of the people you spoke with?
Not really. I mean, it is just to re-echo the fact that it shouldn't be surprising that his lowest approval rating comes from these two regions because he lost them anyway. And they're the strongholds of the NPP. Nevertheless, he is still doing about 50% in those regions.
Finally, a few more questions from some people listening to us. Who were the target population and sample size of your research?
We targeted Ghanaian voters across all the 16 regions, and we interviewed more than 15,000 people.
So the levels of confidence in the research should be high.
It's similar to all the polls we have done.
Musa Danquah, thank you. Thank you so much for your time with us on the program. We've been speaking with Musa Danquah. He is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics there. We've also been speaking with Stephen Osei Chiao, Senior Lecturer, Political and Strategic Communication Expert, President of UTAG at the University of Education in Winneba.